Okay, great. So welcome. So happy to see everybody here um, virtually, I suppose. And let me see if I hopefully don't have any technical difficulties myself today. Again, my name is Kelly Williamson. I am going to be bringing my screen down and then showing it again. But I wanted to welcome everybody to this webinar and welcome, obviously, Chris and Robin, who have been so kind to help us today and share with us some information regarding badging and other ways to document your faculty development activities. You can see on the screen here that we have our two presenters and today's dates. Again, my name is Kelly Williamson. I'm the community manager here at the SUNY Center for Professional Development. That name might be familiar, either in a good or maybe an annoying way, depending on how you use Workplace. And if you're interested in what Workplace is, follow up with me afterwards. I'll be happy to share some more information with you about that. But here's my contact information, unless you want to follow up with me right after this presentation. I'm more than happy to help. Just some audio notes. So we did mute you all upon arrival. So we were just talking about when to share feedback. Definitely ask questions or comments during the presentation in chat, and I will help Chris and Robin basically get set up with that and let them know exactly what you're asking, or if you need to elaborate or share another example. Perfectly fine. This flows better if it's a big conversation and we can all participate in it. If we have a lot of questions and we're running over time, we might cut off those questions, but I will make sure to take them down and follow up with you after the presentation. And there was a question about, when we share the presentations on YouTube, some of that additional content might be lost. We'll make every effort we can to share any links that were referenced in the body of the YouTube site screen as well. And then here's my little comments about that. Again, we will be recording and we'll do our best to help. So a little bit about professional development.
Kelly.
Yeah.
Do you mean to share your screen with us? If so, we're not.
Oh, you're not seeing it. Well, that's cool.
No.
Awesome. Thanks for letting me know. Here we go. It must have popped off. Can you see it now?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that. Well, this is the best slide anyway coming up. So you could still see it, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna skip ahead. You guys have already went through this. So I want to tell you a little bit about what Professional Development Week is, why we're doing it, and who we are, because I think a lot of you might be first-time participants or audience members to some of our programming. So we want to make sure that we take this opportunity to welcome you properly and give you some information. So this week, came out of a strategic planning session where we talked about opportunities for us at the center, which is located in East Syracuse, New York, in the center of the state, to reach out to new faculty, new staff across the system, and re-energize some of our, our long-term loyal supporters as well. We wanted to present webinars that focused on 3 different areas of growth and development: personal, professional, and technical. Now, for some of you, your definition of professional development might be different, but we wanted to make sure that we encompass everyone's idea while, basically pulling those concepts out and trying to find a topic that at least satisfied one for each person, depending on how you view your development and your role at a SUNY campus. I would be remiss to talk about what the SUNY CPD is. Again, we're based in Syracuse. We're the central resource for top-notch professional development, training, and support services for member campuses and the entire SUNY community. So I mentioned member campuses. Don't worry about that right now, but there are benefits to member campuses that we can address later. So if you have some curiosity about what that entails, or if your campus is a member, or if you've heard the word points before, just reach out to us afterwards and we'll be happy to go in depth with you on that. I want to thank you all for registering with our portal. For those of you who might be first-time registrants, what's great about that is that you can actually come back to this and all of your information will be saved and you'll be able to authenticate with your single sign-on credentials to make any registration easy. You also see our calendar. So this is just a sample of some things that are going on for us this month. We have a full-fledged calendar, so if your campus looks at professional development in semesterly chunks, please feel free to scroll ahead to when that next time of funding will be available and and see what we have on the calendar so far. We can also help you with one-off trainings through some of our partner organizations. I also want to let you know that we'll be sending out a blanket evaluation on Friday, so please give us your feedback. It's a one and done survey, which will hopefully encourage you to complete it. And we'll be giving away 3 CPD prize packs to our registrants, as well as a one-on-one executive coaching session courtesy of SAIL. So you don't have to do anything else. We're just going to randomly select registrants from a whole week, and we'll let you know if you're the winner next week. So that's my housekeeping. So again, we're recording this session, a little awkward in the beginning, of course. That's my style, I suppose. And then we'll be uploading them to YouTube and entertaining any questions in the chat bar. So I'd like to introduce today's presenters, Chris and Robin. I am going to briefly abbreviate their biographies because they are very large and very accomplished, but you can find the full text on our webinar site. So Chris Price is the Academic Programs Manager for the SUNY CPD. Prior to the current position he's in, he was Director of the Center of Excellence in Learning and Teaching, CELT, at the College of Brockport. He started working at Brockport after receiving his PhD in political science from the University of Albany in 2004. He's still an instructor at Brockport in the Master and Bachelor's of Arts in Liberal Studies programs. Chris holds many teaching and learning workshops, and he has conducted those that also include discussion-based teaching, communicating effectively with students, collaborative learning, academic integrity, teaching with technology, and using critical reflection to improve teaching and learning. Chris is a 2013 recipient of the SUNY Chancellor's Award for Excellence in Professional Service. And that is awesome, and that's only about halfway done. I will point out that he lives in Rochester with his spouse, Jessica Martin, and his children, Lucy and Henry, and they have a dog. But you can read much more about Chris on our website. And now we have Roberta, aka Robin Sullivan. Robin is an online learning and innovative instruction specialist for the Center of Educational Innovation at the University at Buffalo. Her role involves the development and implementation of online learning initiatives, and she encourages faculty and staff to explore and reflect on the use of emerging technology tools to expand tech-infused pedagogy. Robin Sullivan leads SUNY's Exploring Emerging Technologies for Lifelong Learning and Success, #MTechMOOC, so that's MOOC, a global learning opportunity to create 21st century citizens equipped for today's technology-driven society. And you can find more about that initiative at SUNY.edu/MTech, and that's EMTECH. She also is instrumental at the Tools of Engagement Project, aka TOPE. And Robin is also a SUNY Chancellor's Award for Excellence in Professional Service. Robin, what year did you receive it?
It was not the most recent one, the one before that.
Okay, great. Well, she's a winner every year. Let's just say that. So again, I want to thank Chris and Robin for being here. They're going to lead us on a journey regarding digital badges and other ways to document faculty development activities. We're recording it. Please remember questions in the chat, and I'm going to stop my share and take it away, Chris and Robin.
Hey, Robin, you want to go ahead and share the slide deck?
Sure.
While Robin does that, I want to thank Kelly again for the opportunity to present as part of the series. We're double dipping a bit here. We're also have a series of faculty development webinars this fall. We had one a couple of weeks ago that Lori Fox from Geneseo presented. We have another one in early December. John Suarez is presenting. We could certainly share the information about that and how to register for that if anybody asks. Maybe we can put it in the chat, the registration link. So, like I said, we also have a pretty vibrant community of practice in faculty development. If you're not part of that, there's a group, a workplace. There's a workplace group for that. It's kind of the theme for the day, I guess. Kelly's happy to hear that, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Robin and I want this webinar today to be engaging, and we want you to participate. Unfortunately, the Zoom webinar room is a little wonky that way. It really is more about a one-to-many connection. But anybody who would like to participate using their voice, please raise your hand and we can easily give you the rights to do that. But if you prefer to just put comments or questions in the chat, do that as well. I know in the webinar room there's a Q&A section, but let's just leave that alone. Let's put them right into the chat so that everybody can see them and we can see them and we can kind of have that record of the chat conversation. So today, Robin and I are going to talk mostly about digital badges and the work that we've each done on digital badging. And we're also interested in hearing from you all about ways that you're documenting faculty development activities on your campus. And so we'll give you all an opportunity in a minute to do that. So next slide, Robin. So in the chat, if you all could just put your name, your campus, and your role at your campus, what you do. Oh, nope, back, thanks. And then what you want to learn about this topic and why you showed up. If you just want to hear about badges, or if you want to hear about other ways to document faculty professional development activities, please feel free to do that as well. We'll talk about ways to document faculty professional development, maybe other than digital badges. We're going to ask you to sort of share how you're doing this on your campus. And then we'll talk, Robin, I'll talk first about how we're using badging at the Center for Professional Development. And then Robin will do a little bit more of a deeper dive about the work that she's done with badging on projects that are actually CPD sponsored projects. And then we'll talk, field any questions that you all have. And then we'll just leave it open from there. Sound good? All right, I'm seeing I'm on my phone, by the way, too, so it's a little tricky because every time someone posts something, the screen goes kind of small. Okay, so all right, next slide. So you see on the next slide, we've asked you to also put how you're doing this on your campus. I mean, maybe I'll just start, when I was at Brockport, we didn't really, what we would do at our Center for Teaching and Learning is at the end of the year, we would send faculty a letter listing all the events that they attended at our center for the year. It was a somewhat kind of very manual process, involves a spreadsheet or two, but it wasn't exactly a very elegant solution. All we would do is send them that letter with the list of events and activities, but it told us nothing about other than the title of that event. So I know that's why digital badges seem to be sort of a promising alternative to something like that, because you go a little deeper on identifying what was learned in the events or the activities involved. So I'm going to check out the chat, see what you all have to say. Okay. So if anybody would like to just put in the chat, or again, we can give you permission to talk if anybody's feeling brave and wants to speak up. That would be awesome. Unless you want to add anything while we wait, Robin.
No, nothing to add, but I guess our center in the past is similar to what you just described. Faculty would get kind of a piece of paper at the end of an event that would say that they attended. It was kind of more like just a letter that said faculty X attended this workshop on this date. And that was about all they would get. And that was if they asked for that information.
Hey, Robin, one thing you could do, since we're using a Google slide deck, could you just share the slide deck link with folks? They're asking about having it. So
Sure.
we certainly can easily do that.
Well, I'm going to have to maybe just get down here to get that.
All right, so just looking at, we asked people what they want to learn here. And let me know. I'm like I said, I'm on my phone and on a headset. So if I'm fading in and out, I'll try to not move. That usually helps.
Chris, it looked like a lot of questions about badging specifically. and learning about like how SUNY is taking the overall approach on documentation. I think that seems to be the theme. SUNY supports the creation of digital badging, which I know is a hot topic in some areas. So that seems to be the overall theme if you were trying to look at them all. And how other campuses are using it, a lot of best practices.
Great. Is anybody doing anything else other than badging or any other ideas for documenting faculty professional development? I mean, we talked about letters to folks. Is anybody using any more robust tools other than badges, which we'll talk about shortly? Do everything manually, okay?
I'm going to give everybody a chance to come up with something to share, and I'll maybe just share one idea that UB has adopted recently. So we have a separate Office of Training and Development, which is run through our human resources area. And they adopted a really robust platform recently that's, I think it's UB's brand name is called The Edge. And Saba is maybe the system behind that. But if you do a search for UB and then The Edge in quotes, you will find their catalog. And that catalog keeps kind of a transcript of all of the workshops that someone has attended, faculty and staff. And you can also add additional workshops. So if somebody had taken a CPD offered session, they can add that to their profile in the Edge system. And so it's very nice. It also has a badging component, a social media side of it. But unfortunately, that's something that UBHR has not turned on just yet. But it's a really great system for it accepts registrations and things like that.
Is anybody using like I know that there's like various types of annual reporting software. I know at Brockport we were using Activity Insight, but it was really not focused as much on the faculty professional development side of things, outside of maybe sort of things they were doing in their discipline, in their department, their scholarship, and listing courses and that sort of thing. It didn't really have, there were spaces for faculty for professional development, teaching and learning related stuff, but it was kind of buried from what I remember. Is anybody utilizing any tools like that with on their campus? Oh, okay. Yes, track in Banner, interesting. Okay. Catalog from instructor, okay. Blockchain certification, wow. Okay.
I also think I'm at a disadvantage here. Since I'm sharing my screen, don't seem to be able to be pulling up the chat.
While you do that, yeah.
Yeah, so.
If you click on the chat on the control manual, if you see the control tab for Zoom, it should pull out for you.
I've tried that a couple times, which is why the slides keep popping for everybody. So sorry about that.
Gotcha. All right, I'll keep an eye on it, Robin.
Okay. Yeah.
Anytime it comes up, anytime someone chats, it comes up for me. So I'll just keep an eye on it. And like I said, if anybody would like to chime in, just raise your hand, and we will certainly entertain any kind of verbal questions as well as chat questions. All right, so why don't I go ahead and talk about what we've been doing with digital badges at the CPD. And I will, so if you go to the next slide, Robin. I mean, I'll come out and say it right away. When we were first considering working with Gridley, I wasn't sure how it was going to work. I wasn't sure if this is something that the faculty would be interested in, or the people that attend our events or participate in our events would be interested in. And so, I sort of entered into it all with a little bit of skepticism. I've since come around quite a bit with badges, and to see them as a really useful way to document, and sort of keep track of your professional development path. So what you're looking at right now in the screenshot is our sort of homepage at Gridley. So if you go to that URL, you can go there and you could jump around. Since we have we have what's a sort of enterprise contract with Gridley, it's not system-wide. It's really just within the areas of system that deal with professional development. So we had to create this kind of, it's not really, there's no SUNY professional leadership and development department within system. So this isn't an actual organization that exists. It's really just to sort of collect all the badges and have one place for them to all live. So you'll see down there, we have two issuers. There's Open SUNY, and actually Open SUNY and formerly COAT and now Open SUNY has a number of, I've been doing badging even far longer than we have at the CPD. And if you go there, you can see all the badges that, and Alex Pickett's been the one kind of leading that initiative in Open SUNY. And then below that, you'll see the SUNY Center for Professional Development. And if you go there, you'll just see our badges. Begin the next slide, Robin. So these are our issuers. So like I said, we have the CPD and we have Open SUNY. But then at the enterprise level, so these are badges that kind of cross-cut system or that don't have individual, they're not considered individual issuers, but essentially they are able to issue badges from at our enterprise level. So when you get a badge for these folks under the enterprise level, it'll say SUNY Professional and Leadership Development has issued a badge. But then when you drill down a little further, you'll see it's from SAL or the MTech group or Quality by Design. The reason we do that is the way Gridley does pricing is that, you know, if you get an enterprise level contract, they give you one issuer as part of that contract, and you have to pay for every additional issuer. So at the enterprise, some of these other organizations don't really have the need to invest in their own sort of issuer account. So, but we're able to have them issue badges at that enterprise level without an extra additional fee on Gridley's end. I know a lot of you are probably interested in a lot of those kind of logistical questions. So those are the where badges are being created within system. Next slide, please. And so at the CPD, which again, where I am, we have are issuing badges for 3 different ways. First off, we have a number of certificate programs, which I'm going to go into a little more depth shortly. And within those certificate programs, we're issuing badges at the course level, but also overall badges for our certificate programs. And then we also have a number of standalone courses and programs, and we issue badges for those as well. And then we issue badges for conference presenters. We initially, when we first started experimenting with badges, we were badging for conference attendance, say at CIT, and we, it's you know, again, we're learning, and one of the things they say about badges is that there should be some level of achievement recognized with a badge. You shouldn't just get badges for just showing up. And it's one of the things that I think makes badges sort of a unique thing compared to some of the more traditional or old school ways of documenting professional development, is that, again, they are meant to recognize achievement and not just, again, just kind of be something that you check a box and like I just showed up and I didn't do anything. And everything we do at the CPD really is meant to be sort of recognizing competency development. And so those are the 3 different ways we issue badges and how we recognize folks who participate in our activities, but also complete our activity. Now I'm looking at the chat. Okay. I'll get to that. Yeah, why don't we hold off for now on some of these logistical questions? I'll definitely get to that, Anthony. All right, so next slide, please. Thanks, Robin. So this is our program development framework, and again, I'll explain shortly why badging really works well for our framework. So this is a framework that we've had in place since before I came onto the CPD, when Kim Scalzo, who many of you know, was the director. I believe she was the one who instituted this framework. Everything we do at the CPD is sort of community-based. In other words, we have a staff of about 10 people, so you know, but we have 64 campuses, and so we don't sort of, we're not driving the bus, so to say. We're more kind of helping facilitate the driving of the bus among our campus partners and all of you that are here. So when we're developing a program, we first have to figure out who is going to be what is the community practice that's going to help us develop this program. And that usually is a target audience. So the one that actually I'm most familiar with, because actually before I started the CPD, I helped put this program together, is our Teaching and Learning Certificate for new faculty. And so the target audience for that were new faculty, obviously, but the program owner were the faculty developers in the system. I saw Keith Landa on the call. Keith was actually on that committee, as well as a number of other folks who work in faculty development. And we put together this program. And so faculty developers, for all intents and purposes, own that program. We went through, defined the rationale for the program, all the learning outcomes, any kind of prerequisites. And that process really was about looking at the competencies that new faculty need to be able to do and things they need to know when they're in the classroom for the first time. And that eventually we came around to outlining the courses. And again, they were very competency-based. We really focused in on what they would learn, what are the specific skills they would learn. And then that led to the program completion requirements. Okay, how do we know they learned those skills? Next slide, please. So when we put this when we initially had this framework, we didn't have digital badges. So digital badges, though, like I said, kind of integrated seamlessly into that framework for a number of reasons. Number one, they're very easy to share. So one of the things that I like about badges is that you could easily now see, if you go to that site earlier and you go to the CPD section of the site where it lists all our badges. If you go, for example, to the Teaching and Learning Certificate for new faculty overall program badge, you can see everything about that program in the badge criteria. We have the link to the site for the program, where to go to register, and people who receive that badge can also share that out with their peers, and or wherever on LinkedIn, and then that becomes a way to kind of, again, promote the program, but also for them to be able to say, look, here's what I learned in the program, and this is what the Teaching Learning Certificate for new faculty is all about. The other thing that I like about digital badges is that, unlike badges for, say, credit and badges as part of, say, micro-credentialing programs or something like that, in professional development, where the badges aren't leading necessarily to a micro-credential, they're really just more about, continuing professional development. We can relate them to each other, and the concept that I've learned about in reading about badges is they call it horizontal stacking. So as opposed to vertical stacking, where you're taking sort of maybe different micro-credentials and building them up to, say, a degree, in professional development, we can create linkages across programs. So the example that I would use to explain that is that we have two assessment-related programs, one in institutional effectiveness and one in assessment of learning outcomes. And while those programs aren't necessarily directly related, whereas one kind of builds on the other, they're related in that they are both owned by the SUNY Council on Assessment, that's the program owner, and they have a lot of sort of similar connections, and a lot of people who take one program take the other. So we can kind of link to those together, and we've created programs that kind of build on both of those programs as well. And the last thing, and this is again the really why badges work for us, is that it helps people create like a very intentional pathway of faculty development, and be able to document in a way where they could see visually what they learned in the process of going through the programs. Next slide, please. So here's just a few examples of our badges, and we've created all of them in-house. Various folks get credit for creating them. We had an intern over the summer from RIT who was fabulous, who created the one on assessment leadership in the upper left-hand corner. The other is Margaret Murad, who some of you know, our technical programs manager, created some of the other ones for our certificate programs. And I think Abby also created the CIT 2018 one as well. Next slide, please.
Yep.
Oh, so that's all I have to say. And now, Robin, I asked Robin to do this because Robin is actually, I think a leader in faculty professional development. I know she's worked a lot with folks in POD, the Professional Organizational Development Network, and EdTech SIG in POD. And I know there's been a lot of I think you've participated on a panel around the use of badges, right, Robin, or a presentation at POD a couple of years ago
Yes,
on
I
use
was
of badges. Yeah.
invited by Chris Clark, who was the chair or director of the Teaching with Technology Special Interest Group. And together, the group of us who he kind of collected, we developed the POD badging program that was provided for conference presenters and also learners. And they did maybe something that SUNY might consider. We did, as we organized the POD badging system, we came up with a way for participants to share a reflection through a Google group. And they were asked to comment on how they would take 2 of the sessions that they attended at the conference and how they would, what was their action plan when they got back to campus, how would they implement what they learned. So that was the evidence that they were able to link to the badge that they earned by being a conference attendee. And then the presenters also had an opportunity to earn a badge, and they had to share their resources through that same Google group and also provide a reflection about what would they do differently, what did they learn through the POD presentation, and what would they do differently if they presented that again. So I thought that was a really great way to provide an attendee badge, but also have evidence attached to it. And
Yeah, so that's why I asked Robin to be here, and not only, and she'll talk about the other places she's using badging, but she's been thinking very a lot about how to effectively use badges for professional development, and so she's going to talk a little bit now. And before you do that, Robin, I see there was one question in the chat about can campuses piggyback on SUNY's Gridley contract. So we do have a handshake agreement with Gridley to provide preferential pricing to campuses. I was trying to find the amounts off the top, and I don't remember it off the top of my head, and I don't want to just spitball something. So if anybody's interested in that, you know, you can just contact me directly, chris.price@suny.edu. I'll put my email in the chat right now, and I will make sure that you get that information. All right, Robin, all you.
okay, thank you, Chris. And I just want to extend a little bit about that panel that I was a part of with POD. The slides from that session are available online, as with the instructions about how anybody could earn a badge. The POD conference offered it not this year, which is, I'm not sure if the POD conference is going or went last week. It's like right around now. Couldn't make it. But all the information is Creative Commons licensed, which is pretty much anything that I'm involved with. I'd like to try to make it Creative Commons licensed, so feel free to borrow and share and modify to your heart's content. There were some great collaborators, so if you want to look at some additional schools who offer faculty professional development and badging opportunities, Notre Dame was the one that kind of led the charge. Chris Clark has a program called Remix, and they use badges quite a bit also with their student body. And also University of Indiana was represented on that panel, and Embry-Riddle. And I think I will try to find the link when I'm not sharing my screen and share it either in the chat or after the fact. But there were, we tried to collect a list of some of the other schools that were doing badging for faculty professional development. So it was a great opportunity. So the thing that I'd like to, maybe I'm just going to try not to talk too much. I'd like to have this be more of a conversation, but I'm just going to share a few of the opportunities that faculty have to earn badges. And one of them is the current Exploring Emerging Technologies for Lifelong Learning and Success MOOC. So this project was funded through an IITG of the prior year, and it has been live. We were able to go live January 4th of last year, so we're getting on a full year. That was our pilot, and it is online and available. So if any of you are looking for a way for faculty at your campuses to earn their own digital badges to show their effort at becoming a lifelong learner and their progress at exploring emerging technologies, you can send them to the URL that's on the screen, hopefully quite memorable, suny.edu, and then EMTech. So we try to pronounce the exploring emerging technologies with our hashtag as EMTechMOOC so that people know how to get to that website. I hope to see all of you in there. Actually, a new session just started yesterday, but do not take the session start dates to heart. The timing of the MOOCs are now much more flexible than they were in the past, at least in Coursera's viewpoint, so anyone can start at any time. And this MOOC is, and the Coursera certification, which is kind of an add-on to the EMTech MOOC badges, the Coursera certification is free for anyone within SUNY. So they just have to start their Coursera account with a SUNY-based email, and they will be given the verified certificate. So just to give a tiny little bit of background about the project, the goal for the project is to identify the value and implications of using technology tools, and it's both for personal and professional growth. Another sub-goal in there is to gain lifelong learning strategies, lifelong learning habits. And the underlying premise is to keep pace with technology change. We all know badges were not here a few years ago, so that's something that has changed with technology. A tool that could be live and well this morning might be totally bankrupt or improved or not available the next day. So we all need to become lifelong learners. And by going into the Exploring Emerging Technologies for Lifelong Learning and Success MOOC, hopefully you will gain an appreciation of both of those ideas. This is modeled after the SUNY Tools of Engagement project. I saw some people that are in this call that were involved in that project, either as a fellow or as a participant, maybe an awardee or two. So the EMTech MOOC is an evolution of Tools of Engagement project. Big difference in EMTech MOOC is that anybody in the world is able to go in and earn the digital badges. I have a constellation on one of the following screens that'll show you the different badges that can be earned. But I'd say one of the big differences is that this opportunity is available to faculty and students and staff and anyone across the world. We're not restrictive because those goals that you see on the screen right now, if anybody can think of an audience that would not benefit by understanding the implications of technologies and gaining lifelong learning strategies, please let me know. But so this is a badging opportunity. Tools of Engagement started our badges in 2013. And back then, I think I was right on Chris's page where Kathy Gradle, who is one of my great mentors in SUNY, and I'm sure many others, she introduced badges to the TOEP project after our first year when we offered paper certificates, digital certificates. And I said, oh, we don't need those silly badges. You know, it's just a little gold star. Get those in kindergarten. Well, it's been 5 years since that time, and I am now a total convert. Digital badges do add a lot of value. UB has kind of adopted the support of micro-credentials and digital badges. They are providing in a very formal way the opportunity for our students to earn digital badges and stacked micro-credentials. I think I saw Anne on the call, so hopefully she might be able to chime in with some information about that. So I just want to show the interface for Coursera. Side note, the Coursera platform has made me appreciate Blackboard. I'll leave it at that. That might be a webinar in itself. But the basic idea of the Exploring Emerging Technologies MOOC is to Understand what your objective is, so you select from that objectives menu in the center screen. And those objectives map to the 21st century skills of a lifelong learner. Once you determine what your learning objective is, whether you're trying to collaborate with a team or tell a story, you would then be filtered down in a database of freely available emerging technology tools that you would explore, hopefully create a hands-on artifact, or at the end, you would then share in an e-portfolio that you develop through Digication or any other tool that we share through the platform. But you do have free access to Digication, so that's something if your campus is interested in, all faculty, staff, and students can get a e-portfolio through this project. And you would then reflect on the learning for that module. You'll see across the screen, the lifelong learning is the first module, and you would earn a digital badge after you share your reflection and your artifact, and that's the evidence that you earn for your badge. At the end, there's a peer review process for the digital portfolios. This screen is just showing the badge constellation. I think that's the terminology used in the badge world. So it's kind of just a constellation of stars. The bottom of the screen, we have quest badges. Those are for the different modules. The topics of the modules are on the badge. And then the middle section, we have some community issued badges. So at the end of each 5-week period, there is a voting process, pretty much a survey monkey, where all the participants vote for who they felt was the most supportive person in the community conversations. And 3 of the top people with the votes get those outstanding peer support badges. We also want people to contribute tools to that wiki that you saw that was embedded within Coursera. So if somebody contributes a new tool or adds or improves one of the tools that are there with tutorials or more information, they can earn that contributor badge. And finally, there's a master badge that says you've completed all of the requirements. So this is hot off the presses. I think this might be SUNY's newest badge. We are actually seeking support for mentors in EM Tech MOOC. And if you are interested or want to talk more about it, please let me know. But I issued my first official mentor badge yesterday to somebody that's been helping us out with facilitating the community. This is another opportunity for faculty across SUNY and actually across the world to earn their own digital badges. SUNY Quality by Design is another IITG funded project, and this project was led by Ann Reed with a team of individuals across many SUNYs. The collaboration aspect is what brought this project forward. And it is finishing up. This project runs twice a year, pretty much. The fall cohort is actually ending right around now, and we'll have another cohort in the spring. But the course is set up as a Blackboard course that talks about how do you develop a quality course. Started out, we focused on online courses, but we came to realize that good teaching is good teaching. And so the Quality by Design talks about the benefits of providing good pedagogy, and it follows the structure of the Oscar rubric. And there are activities in Quality by Design that somebody would either evaluate their own course or a course, one of the exemplar courses that are shared through SUNY. And then this course kind of evolved from something called Designing an Exemplary Course, which started out through Blackboard. And Gridley badges were added in SUNY for Quality by Design in 2015. So QBD does badges just a little bit interesting, a great model to think of. So in Blackboard, there is the achievements tool, And so for the module progress, you would earn a badge in Blackboard each time you complete the requirements for a module. So those are the badges that you see at the top. There's also some community issued badges, and you can see a mentor badge, and also the other one is contributing resources. And then there's some surprise badges just to kind of add the gamification element and some fun. That's the badge for an early bird contributor. So those that are in there in the forums communicating first, we say, hey, congrats, you got this early bird badge. Then the bottom section of badges are the Gridley badges that are issued through the Open SUNY, or for the SUNY CPD Gridley system. And you can see that if you are a mentor in that course, you would also be able to earn a digital badge. And then the one on the very far right is a course completer, but a course completer with distinction. So also we're getting, want to save some time for questions and conversation. Here's some comments about digital badges that were received through some of the post assessments in the TOEP. And basically some of the, these are maybe just a little reminiscent of the overall comments. So the ability to share your learning with your colleagues, that's probably one of the biggest things that a digital badge offers. You can share your digital badges on your LinkedIn profile, on your ePortfolio, on your resume, and your signature. That's one way to show others that, here's a little story about me. Here's the badges that I have earned. So that's a really great way to kind of present what you have an interest in. And then another comment, that some of the community college instructors had mentioned that, and many of the people that I have talked with that have collected badges, are that they are using these badges in a way to show their professional development activities. Possibly in their dossiers. I really can't comment on whether or not any tenure or promotion committee has ever really looked at a badge and said, yes, I'm granting, but people are including a piece of paper that shows the badges that they've earned in their collection of materials. And then the idea that badging has become more prevalent. In the very early days, I was still very skeptical. But looking at the responses from all of our surveys, as a whole, I see an adoption and value for just the legitimacy of earning badges. So for any of you who know me, I wouldn't get off the call without putting in a plug. Please enroll in EM Tech MOOC. And we will share the slides with everyone, and you can actually click on the links here and grab an announcement or flyers or cards that you can share at your campus. And this information is also linked to right from the EM Tech MOOC site. So that leaves us hopefully a few minutes for questions, and I cannot see the chat, so I'm sure there are many questions that came through, so someone will have to help facilitate the discussion about those.
Yeah, so we don't have too many questions. There was a question about integration with Blackboard, Banner, etc. So we're not currently doing that at the CPD. We do use Blackboard for many, pretty much all of our courses, but we're just kind of issuing the badges through the Gridley interface. So I'm not sure. I tried to do a quick Google search whether or not there is a sort of easy integration. I will say this, though. I mean, we could have a whole other webinar about the technical components of all this, but I will say that the Gridley site is very easy to use and set up. It doesn't require, a lot of expertise on the organization's end to just kind of go in. It depends on your numbers, like anything, right? So if you're issuing hundreds or thousands of badges, you definitely want a more automated solution. But we're doing everything very sort of manually. But like I said, Gridley makes it pretty easy. Anne Reed, who's I don't know what your title is. Your title, Director of Micro-Credentials, Anne, and I gave her an opportunity to speak. I wanted to see if you wanted to add anything here.
Hi, Chris. My name's Anne Reed, and I'm Director of Micro-Credentials at the University of Buffalo. This has been a great presentation so far. I hope you can hear me okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So I just wanted to say that UB has a pretty broad badging initiative. We rolled out badges that are for current students, academic and sort of co-curricular badges in our first phase, which is our current phase, fall 2018. And we plan to grow the initiative to include continuing education and professional development badges and badges for, non-degree students. So if anybody has questions about that, I'm going to put our link to our website in the chat room. We already have close to 900 students enrolled in a badging program. So there's a lot of interest, and it's been really exciting so far. And also, I think somebody had a question about integrating with Banner. We're a PeopleSoft institution, but we are, we do have our badging programs in PeopleSoft. So if anybody has any sort of technical questions about that, I'd be happy to engage with you. So I'll put our website and my email address in the chat.
Thanks, Dan.
Sure.
So there was a couple of questions here. Someone's asking about quality by design. I could try to grab the website. It was the actual website for the program. It was in the slide deck, so that was there earlier.
The URL are they asking for?
Yes. For
so commons.suny.edu/QBD will link you to the new CPD portal.
Great. So quality by design is a little different than the MTech MOOC. I mean, it's
very different.
A single course. It's very different. Yeah, it's not a MOOC, first off, and second off, it's open to non-SUNY folks as well for a small fee. Most SUNY campuses, it also has a small fee because there's feedback that folks will get, and it's more sort of, I won't say it's more interactive than the MTech MOOC, but it's definitely more of like a traditional course where with 4 modules and you go through as a cohort, unlike the MOOC model where you kind of, not that you jump in and jump out, but like Robin was saying, the start and end times are a little less meaningful than in a typical course. So I don't want to take too much time with that, but I'd be happy to answer any questions. Like I said, if you just email me about quality by design or talk with you.
And Chris, I'd like to kind of go back a second. The idea of using the free version of Gridley and how easy Gridley is to use. I have not had a lot of experience with other badging platforms, and many other badging platforms are possibly very easy to use also. But I can only speak from experience that when we ran TOEFL for 4 years worth of issuing badges through Gridley, it was a pretty seamless process. A Google form, which I would be happy to share with anybody if you wanted to, to adopt this form. And actually in the MOOC, we're still using a Google form to collect the evidence that people are submitting. And then that form is saved as a CSV file and uploaded once a week or so to the Gridley system, and then the badges are issued. And the free version, there's not a lot of difference, I think, between the pro and the free version. If you are considering exploring badges, I would certainly say you should explore the Gridley system, and I'd be happy to help you figure that out.
Thank you, Robin. And someone asked about how you show your badges on LinkedIn. So when you're issued a badge, it gives you that option of where you'd like to share the badge. And I think it's Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. I don't know if there are others.
I'm not sure if there's more nowadays. They're very well, you could share it pretty much anywhere, but it's integrated more closely with those tools.
Okay. So the Gridley makes it very easy to show your badge, share your badge on LinkedIn.
And the Digitation ePortfolio system, as well as probably other ePortfolio systems, there's ways that there is a kind of a plug-in that's built in that allows somebody to directly embed their badge into their portfolio, and that would take you right to the Gridley site that shares the linked evidence to that badge. And that's a great place to kind of share the story about who you are.
Somebody asked about specific badging tools with Canvas, so I don't know. So if there's anybody, do you know, Robin?
I'm just beginning to learn about it a little bit, and so I believe that is one of the platforms where I guess in my exploration, looking at Coursera. Coursera does not have badges for the MOOCs. They have a certificate, and they do provide badges. They used to provide them for their mentors, their beta testers, and their translators. They provide Gridley badges. They just recently, in the past month or so, moved to a homegrown, more badging system, but again, not for the courses, not for the MOOCs. But Canvas does have badges integrated, similar to the achievements in Blackboard, and that is very intriguing. And so I'm looking forward to learning more.
I'm glad you mentioned certificates, Robin, because one of the things that I know that, we've moved away from actually issuing, the only paper certificates we issue anymore are for our overall completion of a certificate program. We used to also issue them electronically for course level and other workshops and that sort of things. But within Gridley, there's an option to actually make a printable certificate associated with a badge. All you just click a button and that person can, printing the actual badge. I don't know if anybody does that, but I think some people maybe were doing that, and Gridley responded by saying, okay, well, we'll make a kind of a certificate template that will kind of put the information that goes on the badge in a certificate that you could print and put in a physical portfolio or something like that.
Yeah, we didn't try unsuccessfully in the early days to try to print those 1-inch badges, and they were not looking good on paper. So I was thrilled to see when Gridley did add that print your badge option, and it does come out to be a very nicely printed document.
Chris and Robin, you had a question about what would be the best solution when a campus is not willing to integrate badging technology with an LMS, and obviously free is preferable.
I would say check out how Gridley would work in a simple form, or you can maybe use exported gradebook column would upload as a CSV file also. So if you download your gradebook from your learning management system, change that to a CSV and upload that, you can easily issue mass badges in that fashion also.
Yeah, and again, Robin said there is a free version of Gridley that if you're, you want to try Gridley out, on your own, that's definitely, I would recommend that you do that first before you, go and get the paid version, right?
Yeah, and I think there's another competitor out there, Badger, and I think Anne might have explored some of it, but that's another company that I think is looking really interesting as far as competitors to Gridley.
I would add too that Gridley recently purchased Acclaim, and so they are in the middle of transitioning to Acclaim. So if you are thinking about purchasing Gridley, make sure that you look into Acclaim. There is some differences in terms of the functionality, and just something to think about.
And Anne, you can maybe give just one or two differences, because I know that the transaction is in the works, but I'm not sure what that means for us. So do you have any thoughts?
So one major difference that could possibly be a deal breaker is that earners cannot upload their evidence, and they can't claim a badge. So the way the badges are issued through Acclaim is all via the issuer. And so the evidence is the artifact of the student's learning, and it's really pretty much the most meaningful piece of metadata in the badge. And so the only evidence that can be uploaded into a badge in Acclaim is a link. So Gridley has really powerful options for evidence. You can upload a document, an audio file, a video, a link, a text-based document, so many different options. And Acclaim is different, and they're not looking, this is not in their roadmap to change this functionality. And there's also no single sign-on, which might be an issue for your campus. It is for ours. We don't want our students to have to create another account. There's so many accounts they have to deal with, right? So those are a couple of the major things that come to mind.
Thanks, Anne.
Amanda, thank you, Anne. Yeah, we are almost out of time, but Amanda asked a really interesting question that I don't think we have, unfortunately, enough time to address sufficiently, but it's a good question to kind of, I think, close on, because she asked, is anyone using faculty and staff badges in a real actionable way to prove expertise for a future activity? for example, the badge being a prerequisite to advise a certain subset of students or something like that. So how does this work? Now, I don't know that anybody is doing that, and my guess is no. There may be in certain professional development, like context, but in faculty professional development, my guess would be nobody's doing that. However, I do think, and I was trying to emphasize earlier, that one of the things I like about badges is that it is, it's more than just showing up to earn them. And Anne was just talking about the importance of evidence to earn a badge and showing evidence that you learn certain competencies. And see, badging gets us a little bit more in that direction, but my guess is no one else is doing that. But I don't know. Anybody else want to chime in on that, Anne or Robin?
I don't have a comment on that, but I do want to just add one more comment that we would be really remiss if we did not point anyone that has an interest in digital badging to the SUNY Task Force website. So last year there was the micro-credentials and badging task force that was organized through SUNY and a policy put in place. And many people on this call were involved in that. And there's a lot of really great resources, including webinars, and definitely check that out. I'm sorry we didn't have a slide to show you.
Yes.
Chris, do you know the URL, or can you put that in the chat or send it out to
No,
people?
but if you just put in SUNY micro-credentials into Google, it'll bring you to that page, to the system page. I think the reason why it didn't come up in the context of this is because, it is very focused on micro-credentials for like students as part of micro-credentialing programs and for credit. And there's some information about micro-credentialing or badging for professional development, but it's really kind of more focused on students and that sort of thing.
I sometimes designate those two as the big B and the little B badges.
Great. I just put the I think I found the site for the micro-credentialing, so I added that there. You can see it in the chat, and we'll provide that link with the YouTube site. And do Chris and Robin want to wrap up and give any closing thoughts, suggestions? Thanks.
Just thank everybody. Yeah. Thank you, Robin.
Thank you all. And they are not just little gold stickers. Check them out.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you both for being here and presenting, and thanks to our over 50 participants at one time or another for hanging with us today and talking about badging and documentation in general. We will be recording this and sharing this as previously mentioned, and please check out some of the links that we've provided, and we'll be following up with some more information. And please feel free to reach out to Chris and Robin on your own. Thank you very much. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.